Frogs in your bed, gnats in your skin, flies blocking out the sun, and a king who watches his empire collapse and still won't budge. 3 plagues, 3 promises, 3 betrayals. This is the moment we see exactly how power, pride, and divine pressure collide. Let's get into it.
A supernatural standoff is rocking an empire to its core. The demand couldn't be simpler. Let my people go. The answer couldn't be colder. A flat, hard no. But this refusal doesn't just end the conversation. It sets off a cycle. A relentless, escalating, repeating pattern of divine pressure and royal defiance that is about to consume everything Pharaoh has built. And it starts with frogs. Not a few frogs by the river. Frogs everywhere. In the palace, in the bedrooms, in the ovens, crawling over everything and everyone with absolutely nowhere to escape. And here's the twist. Pharaoh's magicians can actually summon more frogs using their own magic, but they cannot get rid of a single one. They can match the chaos, but they cannot stop it. They just make everything worse. And for the first time, Pharaoh cracks. Pharaoh does something we haven't seen before. He begs, "Pray for me, get rid of these frogs." And Moses does. The frogs die. Relief comes. And then the heel turn. The moment the pressure lifts, Pharaoh's heart hardens and the promise evaporates. This is the cycle. Divine command, the plague hits. Pharaoh negotiates. Relief comes. Promise broken. It repeats. And each time, the stakes get higher. But the next plague doesn't just repeat the cycle, it breaks something. No water, no staff, no dramatic river moment. Aaron strikes the dust of the ground, and the dust itself becomes gnats, swarming, crawling, inescapable clouds of them covering every human and every animal across all of Egypt. It's not dramatic, it's just miserable. A low-grade, suffocating torment with no relief in sight. And this time, Pharaoh's magicians step up to match it and completely fail. What they say next stops everyone in their tracks. Pharaoh's own experts, the men whose entire job is to replicate these signs, look at what just happened and say 4 words. This is the finger of God. They're done. They know they're outmatched. And here is where it gets extraordinary. Even after his own top advisors tell him directly that this is divine power, Pharaoh still refuses to listen. He digs his heels in deeper. The evidence isn't the problem, the will is. So God does something he hasn't done before. He draws a line. Thick, dense swarms of flies descend on Egypt. Total chaos, ruin, devastation. But in Goshen, where the Israelites live, not a single fly. A literal line drawn through the middle of a nation. Same geography, completely different reality. This is no longer just raw power. This is surgical precision. A targeted strike proving that God doesn't just bring pressure, he can protect his people in the middle of someone else's catastrophe. Pharaoh comes back to the table, but he's still not ready to let go. Pharaoh negotiates, but on his own terms. Fine, go worship, but don't go too far. He wants relief without release. He's desperate enough to talk, but not desperate enough to actually surrender control. And Moses sees right through it. Before he even agrees to pray, he issues a warning. Don't lie to me again. The dynamic has shifted. Moses isn't just petitioning anymore. He's calling out a pattern. And sure enough, the pattern holds. The flies disappear. The promise disappears with them. But this time, the Hebrew text says something quietly unsettling. He made his heart heavy. Not that his heart was hardened by outside force. He chose it. He picked up the weight of his own stubbornness and carried it. 3 plagues, 3 moments of desperation, 3 broken promises, and an entire nation suffering for one man's pride. What happens when a leader refuses to back down, no matter what it costs the people around him?
That question is only getting louder.
All right, we've walked through the template, the limit, and the distinction, from frogs to gnats to flies, and a king who watched his world fall apart and still wouldn't let go. Before you go, let me leave you with 2 questions to sit with. First, Pharaoh kept making promises under pressure and breaking them the moment the pressure lifted. Is there a promise you've made to God or to someone you love that only lasted as long as things were hard? Second, the text says Pharaoh made his heart heavy. Stubbornness isn't always something that happens to us. Sometimes we choose it. Is there an area in your life right now where you are holding on to control, even as the cost keeps rising? 2 questions. Breathe. Let them sink in.